Sentient beings who are in samsara, they don't recognize, oh, this is my creation. Somewhere, somehow, I created the cause to have this experience, and now it's manifest. So we think happiness is out there, and we just need to chase down the happiness and get it, and then we'll all be good. You know, haha, we've all lived enough in this life that we can see, yeah, I never found happiness in a product. I never found, happiness in something I could get. And we do the same thing with suffering. We think suffering is out there, I have nothing to do with it, it's definitely that guy's fault, I never created this experience. And so, for beings in samsara, whenever we see good stuff, we squeeze it. See good stuff, we squeeze it. But that squeezing, oh, I don't have happiness here, happiness is there, right? What does that thinking look like? It looks pretty ugly. And then it creates energy that's also pretty ugly. And it creates more result that sucks. It's the same thing with anger. We see some phenomenal experience, and it's annoying and it's obnoxious, and maybe it's harmful or whatever, and we think, oh yeah, I have nothing to do with that. That's out there. I just have to punch it down, or I just have to run away from it, or whatever, and then I'm fine. Well, then we create the karma, the energy of right, pretty ugly, or the energy of also pretty ugly. And so we just keep cycling through this. Now, enlightened beings, the process for them works exactly the same way, except they know what's going on. So an enlightened being would see something very wonderful and say, oh wow, that's lovely. That's the manifestation of my mind. I created that with my compassion and love. I created some good energy, now I'm having a good experience, wonderful. I hope everybody has a great experience like this. I hope they get an even better experience than this, right? I offer this wonderful experience to all the enlightened ones. To all Buddhas. May all beings have great enjoyments. And what does that look like? Well, that's pretty nice.
Pretty egoistic.
How so?
I created.
They did.
I'm giving this to everybody. I'm hoping that everybody else has that wonderful experience that I created.
Not necessarily. It's created interdependently. So if we have a good experience together, we all were a part of that, right? We all created it. However, you, as an individual, created enough good karma to get in the door in the first place. You had enough good thinking that you contributed to the party. You didn't wreck everything, right? So you made a positive contribution, and you can still own that without being egotistical.
That's why I can't make that leap.
Okay.
I'll think about it.
Yeah. What's difficult, and this is something that as the teachings have come into the West, there's been a lot of confusion about this. If you read Buddhist books, it'll say no I, no I, no I, no self, no self, no self. It'll say that all day. That's true, and it's a little misleading because it's presented in a really one-dimensional way. So all of us, we are consciousness, right? That's actually true. We are, as we would say, present moment thinking only, single present moment thinking only. Every moment, and you're an individual. You're not independent. You're interconnected with everybody. But your thinking is your thinking. Your karma is your karma. It's not my thinking, it's not my karma. If you practice generosity and love and compassion, you did a good job. Now, that doesn't mean that you're this ego entity and you're independent from everybody and you're the most important, you're the owner of everything and give me my damn cookies. That's the ego clinging part. But you still exist as an individual. When when Buddha said there's no I, what he was referring to something specific, this illusory object of clinging. So there's this list, it's called the 5 qualities of the illusory I. Singular, meaning like not compounded, not having parts. Independent, meaning I can do whatever I want, that doesn't affect others, or others aren't affecting me, right? I exist independent of them. Permanent, meaning unchanging, right? And all of these seem pretty silly when you think about them, but we cling to them. That's the problem. Permanent, unchanging. And then from these, singular, independent, permanent, you get the last 2. Most important, owner of everything, right? My phone, my watch, my car, my stuff. The easiest to understand, I think, are independent and permanent. We get ideas in our mind like, oh, that's just who I am. I can't change that. Right? How many times have we said that to ourselves? How many times have we heard other people say that? A lot of times. Well, that's clinging to permanence. But actually, everything changes every moment. There's no permanent entity that ever existed. Everything changes. Even like, you get something like a rock on the table. Looks like it never changes. It could just sit there for 2 million years and look totally the same. Actually, it's not the same. That rock on an overt level is gradually wearing down. But on a subtle level, like even looking through the 100-year-old physics lens, you can see actually it's mostly space. Every single one of those little energy particle things, they're all moving around and doing like crazy stuff. It's literally changing. It's literally transforming every moment. But we get this idea in our mind, I'm this thing that isn't changing. Like, really? I can't change that? Really? It's like, no, you're changing every moment. Like, even your worst character trait that you think you're like totally locked into, oh, that's just who I am. I can't change that. Actually, even that is literally changing every single moment. But because of our bad karma, because we're like clinging to this notion of a self, we end up creating and recreating and recreating and recreating something very similar. It's like a carbon copy of, like, the bad qualities you have in this moment are not the same bad qualities you had in the previous moment. They're like a carbon copy of that, or like very similar to that. The good qualities you have in this moment, they're not the same good qualities you had in the previous moment or yesterday or whatever. They're just similar because you're creating this continuum of them. So whatever good qualities you have, you can lose those if you don't continue to train them. It's like however fit you are. If you don't keep working out, then you're not going to be fit anymore. However kind you are, if you don't continue to be kind, you'll lose it. But fortunately, that's true for our bad qualities too. If we just decrease our bad qualities, actually, we'll get better. So that's permanence. Then independence. You know, we think we can do whatever we want over here, and it's not going to affect others over there. Because we cling to independence, we think that our love and kindness and generosity isn't impacting others that are far away. It's like, oh, I can't do anything about that problem over there. It's like, the hell you can't. You can have good thoughts towards that. Seems like totally meaningless. Actually isn't. Because we're all connected with each other. We're all interdependently connected all the time. Also, you just being nice to people around you is going to lift them up a little bit. Then they'll be nicer, or at least less mean, generally speaking, to the other people around them. And the ripple goes out, you know, through the whole world. So when consciousness clings to qualities it doesn't actually have, permanence, independence, singularity, these things, it gets stuck in an illusion. So when Buddha said, I doesn't exist, What Buddha is actually saying is, yeah, your consciousness, your mind, that relatively exists, but there's certain qualities, there's a certain like self that you cling to, and that thing never happened. That me that exists independent of others, that's what never happened. But you as an individual, you have good thoughts sometimes, you have bad thoughts sometimes. You will, after you die, you will be reborn somewhere based on your thinking, your karma. Not what, somebody else did. It's you're driving it. So when an enlightened being sees that they are having a wonderful experience, they know that they created that. Now, they didn't create it like in a vacuum, independently, because an enlightened being doesn't have any thought of I'm independent from others. But they're still individual. So even, let's say I go on vacation, right? You go on vacation, and you go to what are they up to, like 7-star resort now, or is it 8 stars? It's ridiculous. Like, yeah, I know. In Dubai or whatever, they have 7-star resorts. You go into a 7-star resort because you decide that you're going to blow your entire retirement savings in one day, or maybe someone's footing the bill for you or whatever. You go to the 7-star resort, and the buffet is like here's the caviar, and here's the prime rib, and every most luscious thing, and there's pools and there's fountains, and there's all kinds of people tending to your every need, and it's like, wow, this is great. Even though you only are there because your buddy paid the bill, or you paid the bill or whatever, that experience that you're having, that you created that. That's the result of your thinking, the result of your karma. And if you're having a nice experience, you know that there are conditions that are supporting that. You're not in a vacuum, but at the end of the day, you created that. You created your ability to have that experience, and you're creating that experience in that moment. And you can look around and see rich people who are pissed off because the towels aren't a certain way. And you can see, well, obviously they're creating a different experience than maybe you are. So when an enlightened being looks at some wonderful experience, says, yeah, I created really good karma. I'm having a really wonderful experience. I didn't do that in a vacuum. Of course, like wonderful beings are contributing to that. But I can still own the experience I created, because at the end of the day, my experience of reality is the result of my karma. They can offer that to all Buddhas and all beings. They can think, may everybody have a wonderful experience like that. Good. Now, the process of how phenomena appears is exactly the same as it is for sentient beings. Thinking creates this energy, this karma. This karma manifests as something. Then that experience, you have this stuff here, and you've got the inner, we call them ariser propagators, totally technical term. It's jargon, but it's useful later. The inner stuff, your inner body, your outer body come into contact. There's all kinds of feelings and sensations. Those trigger your thoughts and your consciousnesses. That whole process is exactly the same for sentient beings like ego-clinging beings and enlightened beings. But the enlightened beings just know what's going on. That's what makes them enlightened. And so when they see bad stuff, because sometimes they see bad stuff, they think, wow, okay, well, my bad karma produced a bad experience for me. I know others interdependently are connected to this. They're also having a bad experience. So I renounce my negative thinking. I renounce the bad intentions, the bad thoughts that got me here. And may all these guys be free from that as well, because clearly they're not having a good day. So in the past, their thinking created some bad energy. It produced a bad experience, but they're meeting that experience in a good way. And so it's cutting through this cycle of suffering. their bad energy, their negative karma is being exhausted as not nice phenomena, crappy phenomena. But it's still exhausting that bad energy. Then they're meeting that with good thinking, with awareness, with renunciation, with compassion. And suddenly it breaks the continuum, it breaks the chain of suffering. And they just keep elevating themselves, which is good for them. It's also good for everybody else. So where a sentient being or an enlightened being can have essentially the exact same experience. Someone's yelling at them or whatever. Because of their level of awareness, because of how they respond to it, the enlightened being will still be very peaceful, very joyful, very luminous, very compassionate, all those things, even on the worst day of their life. Where the sentient being is going to get totally hooked, buy into the whole situation. They're being mean to me. I'm going to throw these things, and they're going to spiral down, even though basically it was the exact same stimulus.